official. Canada has its first confirmed case of coronavirus.
The news tonight is the coronavirus pandemic now moving so fast.
There are now almost 200 confirmed cases of COVID-19.
Travelers will no longer be allowed to cross the Canada-US border.
Canadians are bluntly being told, stay home.
Closed, canceled, and confined.
All non-essential businesses will shut down.
The healthcare system crushed under the weight of rising infections.
The world now surpassing 1 million deaths from the coronavirus.
Since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, truck drivers have struggled to find open businesses to buy food, use the washroom, and rest.
Well, we're an island, so everything comes in by a truck. That's the bottom line. Groceries, food, lumber. The whole island is dependent on trucking. When COVID came on, they just shut it all down. I was hauling propane at the time. You know, they were saying this was going on, and here we were just driving into it. Irving stations were open, but even some of them shut down, and you couldn't get in and get a shower and all that stuff there. And the restaurant is closed. There was nothing open, wasn't even a coffee shop open. So whatever you had in your truck, that's what you had, and it was hard. It's still hard, but it's just what you do. It's just part of doing what it does.
One initiative that has been severely affected by the pandemic is school meal programs, an essential way to get proper nutrition to the most vulnerable students.
When our school was closed down due to COVID, we were very concerned about the students and their families. Our school has about 200 students. 70 to 90 students use the breakfast and the lunch program every day. And without that lunch, those students would go hungry or not have a lunch or any sort of meal during the day. We knew that even though we were moving to remote learning, that we needed to somehow be able to meet those needs.
A surge in COVID-19 positive patients is putting an intense strain on Ontario's healthcare system, already under immense pressure.
I received a phone call from Ontario Health, the Ministry of Long-Term Care, and UHN, and we were asked if the Salvation Army Toronto Grace Hospital was able to establish a specialized care centre in the Toronto Congress Centre. We had to get up and running as quickly as possible, given where the pandemic is at and given the number of outbreaks in the community.
My first thought was, how are we going to build a hospital here? How are we going to do this in 2 weeks?
The Salvation Army's response to COVID-19 has frankly been unprecedented. There hasn't been a time since World War II where our organization has had to step up and respond nationally to a disaster that has impacted Canadians right across the country. It was just people rolling up their sleeves, helping one another, helping community, building partnerships, and responding to the pandemic in very practical and tangible ways. And it's been different and unique from region to region, province to province, city to city.
Our mandate was to recruit a crew of 50 people, engineers, physios, respiratory therapists, occupational therapists, nursing, PSWs, food services, in order to create a 90 single-bed private room facility, allowing hospital to look after the more acute patients.
It was an absolutely blank space. So think of it as an empty box. So that's 90 sinks, 90 beds. We have to put up walls. We have to bring water in. The staff were wearing many hats. They were not only the nurse, they were also the social worker. They were the family member that was not there. They were the companion. They were the friend. So they really stepped up to the plate to make sure that the residents felt as welcome as they could.
When I first came here, I didn't know what this place was. I was afraid. Lily took me under her wing. She used to play games with me and just to get your mind working again. And she would just talk with me about anything that I wanted to talk about. They made you feel liked. I think about them periodically. You know, geez, I wonder what they're doing now. So it's just, it's in my mind still. And I don't think it will ever go. I was happy.
I was speaking with every family member pretty much daily. There was a lady whose husband used to call every day. He said, you know, she's the most gentle soul. If you can just play some classic music for her. She loves classic music. She She couldn't move. She was very, very sick. But when you play the classic music, she will turn, she will react. It's almost like she wanted to tell you something. But and she passed away. I think maybe the reason why we are trusted with these opportunities and these moments, maybe they were sent to us so that we could be there for them.
When schools were closing, I contacted the Salvation Army to let them know that we were super concerned about how our students were going to be able to access food. Salvation Army said, we've got an idea for a mobile food truck. Do you think it would work? Do you think that we could park in the school parking lot and your students and families could access lunch?
I believe it was anywhere from 200 to 250 lunches a day. Different sandwich every day of the week. Some vegetables, some fruit, some sort of dessert treat, and a juice box. So a nice, well-balanced meal.
When it first opened up, it was just one location or two locations, and then I was able to contact the Salvation Army and say, oh, there's another school I've heard of that they're super concerned about the families in their neighborhood. And so by the end of it, there was 4 locations that the mobile truck was servicing.
We would get to some of the schools and there'd be a line of kids, and they were quite happy to see us, and I wanted to share with them some good fortune, because the better they are now, the better they'll be in the future.
We were hearing stories from families of truckers that were coming into the province, and they were not able to access food. It was important then that we respond, because we did not want to see the supply chain disrupted. And I made my first call to Major Loveless at the time, and it was literally within hours things were moving. They had a large group of volunteers that were more than ready to step up, and step up quickly.
The whole town came together, not just the town, surrounding areas. Everybody came, helped. Well, I was on a team that worked in the kitchen. We had another team that took the meals up to the tourist chalet, which was a good spot for the tractors to pull off the road when they got off the boat.
Sure enough, as soon as we came over there, they was there with lights flashing and stuff there and flagging us in, and big smiles, everybody there, and couldn't do enough for you. A couple of ladies here or whatever, and they used to just hand up a meal here and wish you a good day and say thank you, and off you went. It was always that you get going on the radio there, somebody be saying, you know, geez, that was dandy that time, boy, or geez, really enjoyed that or whatever, and it was rough there for a while, but we prevailed it. Got through it.
What happened too at the time, simply because of quick response of the Salvation Army, it inspired others across the province. The spin-off from that leadership brought confidence to many others that they too wanted to reach out and help.
As a classroom teacher, I noticed that a number of my students weren't wearing the proper gear in December and January. I had students who were coming to school in hoodies and in sneakers, and they were getting marks on their face and their hand, which was due to frostbite. So I had contacted Salvation Army originally just to clothe the students in my class, and then the project grew after we got picked up by a certain team with Margaret McLeod and John Murray, and then Joe Fresh joined in, and then of course Baffinland joined in, and it became a project not just to clothe my class, but then the elementary school, and then all 3 schools within the community. And I think it was a really exciting time to be able to go shopping and be able to have these options, be able to pick something that you felt really kind of, vibed with you as a kid.
We're a facility that houses more than 200 men. When COVID hit, more than half of the men in our care left, and they left to the parks. The city of Victoria put out an RFP to see if any social services in the community would be willing to get out there and help provide some hygiene services to the community. And we thought, we could do that. So I put a couple brilliant outreach workers in the truck, and they towed that mobile shower unit and let people access the services. We did exceedingly better by providing clean clothing to every person who stepped out of the shower. And they left clean and dry and warm. It was extremely well received.
Approximately 1 week into the pandemic, we met with the local homeless shelter, actually, and they were facing a different reality where they now were required to provide more bed space due to the physical distancing conditions that were placed upon them by public health, which meant that they didn't have the space needed to feed their guests each evening.
So we applied for some funding for a new vehicle, a mobile unit, it can go into tighter spaces, it can be on demand so much quicker, open the big sliding door, put some tables out, and we're feeding people within minutes.
Yeah, we've been giving a lot of warm jackets and hats and mitts and things too now that the weather's changing. They allow us to go into the parks with the mobile van, and the people love it. They see the big shield on the side and they're excited. They run up to us and it's a real positive way to bring hope into the community.
We started to see different people who were losing their income, their employment because of the pandemic. We were going to get more donations through Food Banks Canada, Feed Ontario. We thought very quickly, okay, we need more storage. So we got 2 of them in each food bank. Now the protein choice when the client calls is, would you like a whole frozen chicken or would you like salmon? Which goes a much longer way to feed multiple individuals in your family.
Something that caught my attention with the Salvation Army is that they were able to help local communities directly. So they had a direct impact, and that's what I was looking for. I started delivering food, and I have helped them paint rooms. I participated to their Christmas campaign and their effort to manage the food distribution. I really genuinely encourage people to volunteer. Take that first step, and it's the most complicated one. Mentally, it's gonna be the most impactful.
When I was on the street, somebody from the Salvation Army came to see me. So when I came in to look for recovery, my mind was made up. I'm going to help somebody. Through the height of the pandemic, daily I go to the soup kitchen and make some soup, make some sandwiches. Our volunteers will come in to help me put it in the truck, and about 5 o'clock in the day, they'll head out up into neighborhoods around the edges of town. Some people had the COVID virus. I had to drop it outside the door, and I didn't mind. Somebody done it for me one day. Somebody.
The Salvation Army Red Shield is an iconic symbol of help and hope that speaks to our values of service, of dignity, of stewardship. And throughout the pandemic, our officers, our employees, our volunteers have worked very hard to live out those values in very, very difficult and trying situations and circumstances in the 400 communities in which we serve right across Canada. It's a reminder that as Canadians, we're stronger together.
I would like to thank the Salvation Army and other groups that were able to come in and say, okay, what can we do to help?
Thank you to the patients and the families that trusted us.
Thank you for the jacket.
We are so grateful for the Rogers Foundation.
We could not do what we do in our food banks without those government grant supports during COVID.
I just wanted to thank the corporate donors that provided the money to buy the food for us.
I am grateful for the work that the Salvation Army did.
I'm not a real big meatloaf lover, so whoever made it did a damn good job with it.